everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you with me today. We are doing another installment of my book versus movie similarities and differences. It's kind of a little mini series. There's not going to be that many videos, but I just found myself reading a lot of books that also had corresponding movies and watching movies that had corresponding books. So I just really kind of wanted to do a little series on that. And in addition, my patrons over on Patreon voted for not one, but two books based on movies. So I just really kind of wanted to do a comparison and a contrast, especially since two of them were up for many awards in the Oscars. You may have already seen my Shape of Water one, which of course won the Oscar for Best Picture of the Year. And today we are going to be discussing this book, Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. And this book was turned into a movie recently with Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet. And I just really wanted to go through the book and talk about it, and I wanted to talk about the movie and kind of do a comparison contrast and kind of what I liked and what I didn't. Because, I mean, there's been so much buzz about this book and movie that I'm probably not going to be saying too much that hasn't already been said, but I just wanted to share my experience because I just really enjoy reading and watching things that are kind of trying to make, that are game changers, that are changing how we view things, how we make movies, what gets into theaters and cinema, and it's just really interesting and fascinating, the journey, and I just wanted to share it with you. So, in a kind of change up from what we've normally been doing in this series, usually I talk about the book first because this is a book channel, but I kind of wanted to talk about the movie first of this novel. So I'm going to read you the back of the book. So we have kind of a history of the characters and who everybody is, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the movie, okay? And then we're going to talk about the book, and then we're going to talk about the differences. There's a lot of them between the book and the movie. All right, so back of the book here, again, this is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. Call Me By Your Name is the story of a sudden and powerful romance that blossoms between an adolescent boy and a summer guest at his parents' cliffside mansion on the Italian Riviera. Each is unprepared for the consequences of their attraction when, during the restless summer weeks, unrelenting currents of obsession, fascination, and desire intensify their passion and test the charged ground between them. Recklessly, the two verge toward the one thing they both fear may never truly find them again: total intimacy. Call Me By Your Name. That's the book. So the main characters are Oliver, who is played by Armie Hammer in the movie. He is an older student who goes to stay at the Italian estate where Elio, who is 17, played by Timothée Chalamet, where he lives. And his parents kind of bring in a guest every summer to stay with them and kind of study and write and that sort of thing. Now, the book and the movie take place in the early 80s. So this is right on the cusp of the AIDS epidemic. This is long before people felt even remotely comfortable coming out of the closet. So you've got that kind of cultural perspective. It's written at a very important time. Let's talk a little bit more about the movie details. It was directed by Luca Guadagnino. It was written by James Ivory. It was based on the novel, obviously, by Andre Aciman. It stars Timothée Chalamet and Armie Hammer, and there we go. So the movie. Oh, the movie. Okay. It was good. Kind of. I watched it. I was sort of halfway in. I was in the middle of reading the book when I watched the movie. And I watched the entire movie with kind of a vague sense of there's so much more to this that they are not able to capture here. Now, the chemistry between the actors playing Elio and Oliver has been much discussed, and it definitely existed. I have nothing but good things to say about both of them. They were both very true to their characters. I think Timothy became one of the youngest actors ever to be nominated for an Oscar for his performance. It's completely justified, because the thing is, Elio is such a complicated mess of a character. I mean, Oliver's a little more straightforward. Oliver's 24, I think, 22, 24 in the book and in the movie. He's there to study, who's been living kind of a double life. I mean, he has this on-again, off-again fiance that you find out about toward the latter parts of the movie and the latter parts of the book. But clearly he is bisexual or enjoys time with men, and he's had other male lovers, and he and Elio become lovers during this particular summer. So it's kind of the summer romance. There's several things that he just kind of comes across as, God help me, a little shallow in the movie. And especially because I was halfway through reading the book when I was watching the movie. I was like, oh gosh, I mean, these actors are doing what they can, but it is so difficult, I feel, in my opinion here, to take a book which is so much literary first-person exposition and translate that somehow to a movie where you're just watching people's expressions and kind of their interactions that are spoken out loud, and their physicality, and having to surmise so much. The movie left me kind of wanting something different. It wasn't even wanting more, because like I've said before, wanting more is a good thing. It's like when you watch a movie or read a book and you're like, God, I want more. That's a good thing. That's not necessarily a negative critique on either the book or the movie, because if it leaves you wanting more of these people and wanting to explore it more in your mind and think about it and read it again or watch it again, that's a good thing. When I was watching this movie, I wanted different, not more. There's a difference. So let's talk about the book. So, like I said, I was halfway through the book when I was watching the movie, and this book is like, it's what you kind of wish you could have read in high school or in college even, and done a massive paper on. There is so much meat here. It's very literary. It's subtle, but and there are other parts that are overt. It tackles things with such a bold-faced, straightforward nature in certain cases. There's some scenes that, and I actually have written LGBTQ fiction, but I've also read quite a bit of LGBTQ fiction and seen movies and that sort of thing. And this one really, I mean, it goes for it. But it's about intimacy. It's not even necessarily about sexuality, because sexuality is just one vehicle for intimacy. They really talk in this book about how they want to crawl inside each other's skins and live there, because they want that kind of intimacy. They want to live there and breathe there and love there and stay there, and they know they can't, because distance and age and circumstance and society and time all separate them. And so this entire book is this beautiful sonnet written to the desire of finding someone that you can have the kind of connection that transcends sexuality, relationships, even just basic love or partnership, and become something that's like, no, this person completes me. This person is the other half of my dang soul, and I'm not letting go. And it's just, I have a few feels about this book, clearly. And the thing I feel that bothered me the most is this book really culminates, as of course all books do, but in this particular one, the last 50 pages or so show you the point and the depth and the transformation of what they experienced in that summer and what they did. And the movie doesn't do that. It stops basically right after Oliver leaves. Like, you may get like a year or something, like you kind of get the sense that Elio has sort of come a bit more into his own, but it stops. It just doesn't show you all of the things that happen, because they come into each other's lives again. They affect each other even after just a few short weeks in the summer where they find each other. So I was very upset that the movie didn't show that. I kind of feel like they were setting it up for a part 2, and maybe if there is a part 2, it will fix all of these problems and I can go back and enjoy these characters again, and I'm all for that. But it really just bothered me that the movie stopped where it did, because in the book, you really understand how much these two have affected each other and moved each other and changed each other in the last 50 pages. You just really get this. And I also want to say too, there's a scene that's in both the book and the movie. And I'm not talking about the infamous peach scene, which has been all over the internet. Just Google it. But that's in the book and in the movie. Moving on. And in the book, I have to say, it's done with a much more I can't really explain this very adequately, but it's just the intimacy it is showing between these two characters. It's not even about the sexuality. It's really even more than that, and it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you want to read more. It kind of makes you sort of hold your breath and turn the page. It's just so intimate. You feel like you should just leave these guys alone and maybe step back, because they're experiencing something with each other that is universe and God-given, and you just kind of need to step away. But anyway, the scene I'm actually talking about is there's a part where they go to Rome. They're spending the last few days that they have together, and they're in Rome. And in the movie, they kind of just stumble around drunk for a while and kiss each other in an alleyway. Some other things happen. There's a bit with, some people playing music and they dance or whatever, and you can kind of see them drifting apart. And I get what the movie was trying to do, or at least I think I do. And I see the symbols and how they're trying to pull it together, how Elio is watching Oliver dance with a woman and understand that he's not going to have this. They're not going to be able to keep and maintain this. And I understand that. But in the book, it's this whole long segment of what they do in Rome, and none of that is in the movie. It's not just them in a hotel room and them kind of stumbling around drunk and then running into some people on the street and dancing. It's an entire night of poetry and exposition and discussion of what intimacy means and what relationships mean and what poetry and literature and words can do for you and how you connect people that way. And they go dancing and drinking and whining and dining with all of these people. There's readings and literature, and it's so much more in the book than it is in the movie. So that's one definite huge difference on top of all of the other ones. But I want to read you a segment from the book here real quick. And this is from, again, like I said, the last few pages are really what matters. And this is page 243. This isn't a spoiler. It's just incredibly moving. So let's read this. This is Elio's perspective. The entire book is written in his point of view. Then I thought of the drive back late at night along the starlit river to this rickety antique New England hotel on a shoreline that I hoped would remind us both of the Bay of B, and of Van Gogh's Starry Nights, and of the night I joined him on the rock and kissed him on the neck, and of the last night when we walked together on the coast road, sensing we'd run out of last-minute miracles to put off his leaving. I imagined being in his car, asking myself, who knows, would I want to, would he want to? Perhaps a nightcap at the bar would decide, knowing that all through dinner that evening, he and I would be worrying about the same exact thing, hoping it might happen, praying it might not. Perhaps the nightcap would decide. I could just read it on his face as I pictured him looking away while uncorking a bottle of wine or while changing the music, because he too would catch the thought racing through my mind and want me to know he was debating the exact same thing, because as he'd pour the wine for his wife, for me, for himself, it would finally dawn on both of us that he was more than I had ever been myself, because when he became me, and I became him in bed so many years ago, he was and would forever remain, long after every forked road in life had done its work, my brother, my friend, my father, my son, my husband, my lover, myself. In the weeks we'd been thrown together that summer, our lives had scarcely touched, but we had crossed to the other bank, where time stops and heaven reaches down to earth and gives us that ration of what is from birth divinely ours. We looked the other way. We spoke about everything but we've always known, and not saying anything now confirmed it all the more. We had found the stars, you and I, and this is given once only. So I'm just going to leave you with that. It's beautiful. The book is incredible. The movie tries. That's all I'm going to say about that. Love the actors, love so much for the adaptation and for the way it kind of it does interpret the book and what it chooses to highlight. And that in itself, this is the kind of book and movie that you would want to study in high school or college and do a huge thesis on the differences and similarities and the themes therein, because there is that much there, and all of it is so important because it's about finding real connection and intimacy with people and what that means, and that it's so much more than just affection or sex. It can be absolutely asexual and utterly completed, and it's just so important. The connection between these two and what the book represents in that regard. So all the top hats for the book, a few, like maybe 3 top hats for the movie. Love Timothy Chalamet. He's been amazing in other things that I've seen. I hear rumors of a sequel to the book, or to the movie, which may, again, resolve all of my issues that I had with it. Definitely worth your time. Absolutely go read and watch both of these, because you won't regret it, because it'll make you think, and it will expand your mind on the themes that it tries to address in terms of intimacy and what that means between people. If you have any thoughts or opinions you'd like to share, please do so down below. I am so happy that you joined me today for this. Thank you so much to my patrons over on Patreon for allowing me the impetus to start this series. I've really, really enjoyed it and being able to share it with everyone here. So until next time, for the love of story, I hope you have a wonderful day.